Hello and welcome. I am Ramesh Ramachandran and you're watching Parliament News on DD India. First up, news from the Lok Sabha. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Tuesday made a statement in the Lok Sabha on the clashes between Indian and Chinese soldiers. He said the Indian Army thwarted an attempt at unilaterally changing the status quo in the Yangtze area of Arunachal Pradesh's Tawang sector on 9th December. There were no fatalities or serious injuries to Indian troops in the scuffle. In a suo motu statement, Minister Singh said the Indian troops confronted the Chinese attempt in a firm and resolute manner. The Chinese personnel went back to their locations because of the timely intervention by the Indian military commanders. He made an identical statement in the Rajya Sabha. Minister Singh's statement came a day after the Indian Army said that Indian and Chinese troops clashed along the line of actual control in the Tawang sector. The scuffle caused minor injuries to a few personnel from both sides. He said Chinese PLA troops tried to transgress the LAC in the Yangtze area of Tawang sector to unilaterally change the status quo. The ensuing face-off led to a physical scuffle in which the Indian Army prevented the PLA from transgressing into Indian territory and compelled them to return to their posts. The Defence Minister said the local commanders of the Indian Army thereafter held a flag meeting with their counterpart on 11th December to discuss the issue in accordance with established mechanisms. The Chinese side was asked to refrain from such actions and maintain peace and tranquility along the border. The issue has also been taken up with the Chinese side through diplomatic channels. The minister assured the House that the Indian forces are committed to protecting the country's territorial integrity and that they will thwart any designs on it. The Tawang incident is the first major clash between the Indian and Chinese armies since August 2020 near Rinchen La in eastern Ladakh. Before the Defence Minister's statement, the Lok Sabha was adjourned till noon after the opposition's protests over the issue of clashes between Indian and Chinese troops. After obituary references were made to those who laid down their lives while foiling a terror attack on Parliament on 13th December 2001, opposition members including Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary and Gaurav Gogoi from the Congress, T.R. Balu of the DMK and Asaduddin Owaisi of the AIMIM raised the issue of the border clash in Arunachal Pradesh. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi responded by saying that Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will make a statement on the matter at noon. But the opposition members did not relent and continued to protest. They sought an immediate discussion on the issue. As the protests continued, Speaker Om Birla announced adjournment of the House till noon. Speaker Om Birla said that if the opposition wants a discussion, it should give a notice and that would be discussed in the Business Advisory Committee and a decision would be taken accordingly. As soon as the House had assembled in the morning, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla said it was a sad day for the country. He said the nation stands behind the families of those killed in the 2001 terrorist attack on Parliament and that the country stands solidly against any form of terrorism. Members stood in silence in memory of the victims. On 13th December 2001, terrorists attacked the Parliament complex and opened fire, killing 9 people. The victims included 5 Delhi police personnel, a woman Central Reserve Police Force trooper, 2 Parliament Watch and Ward staff and a gardener. A journalist who was injured died later. All 5 terrorists were shot dead. 2 lawmakers demanded that the pre-matric scholarship and Maulana Azad Fellowship for minority students be restored. The Maulana Azad Fellowship for minority students pursuing higher education has been scrapped, while the pre-matric scholarship will no longer apply to students from classes 1 to 8. Raising the issue and demand during a discussion on the supplementary demands for grants, BSP MP Danish Ali said the pre-metric scholarship and Maulana Azad fellowship must be restored. How can you leave the minorities behind and prosper, he wondered. Syed Imtiaz Jalil of the AIMIM raised the same demand. He wondered how will minority students study and progress if this fellowship is stopped. Danish Ali of the BSP also spoke on the impact of the goods and services tax on small traders. Jalil, who represents Aurangabad in the Lok Sabha, claimed 940 farmers had killed themselves in Marathwada in 11 months. The Lok Sabha was informed that over 16 lakh cyber crime incidents were reported in the last 3 years and more than 32,000 FIRs registered. Minister of State for Home Nityanand Rai said the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal allows easy reporting of all types of cyber crimes. The incidents reported on the portal are automatically routed to the respective state and UT law enforcement agencies for further handling as per the provisions of law. The minister said a citizen financial cyber fraud reporting and management system has been launched for immediate reporting of financial frauds and to stop siphoning off of funds by frauds. So far, financial fraud transactions amounting to more than 180 crore rupees have been saved. A toll-free helpline number 1930 has been started to help registration of online cyber complaints. The Lok Sabha continued with the debate on the demands for additional grants, with members of different parties taking part in the discussion. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary of the Congress accused the government of not meeting its commitment to the states on meeting their GST shortfall compensation. He said that while the government has been imposing cess and surcharges, it is not meeting its obligation to the states. He also claimed that the Indian economy was on the cusp of stagflation, a reference to the mix of stagnation in economy and high inflation. He said the RBI's decision to raise repo rates to fight inflation has inconvenienced people, with EMIs rising and housing market hit hard. Mahua Moitra of the TMC cited government data showing industrial contraction to question the government's handling of the economy and used the Pappu Barb to target it. She said the government and ruling party coined the term Pappu to denigrate and signify extreme incompetence, but the statistics tell who the actual Pappu is. Moitra accused the government of spreading falsehood about India's growth. She urged Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to take control of the economy, which she alleged is going downhill. The TMC member alleged that there is an atmosphere of terror in the country, with the sword of enforcement directorate hanging over business persons, high net worth individuals and leaders of opposition parties. She said that the ruling party buys lawmakers for hundreds of crores of rupees, and yet members of the opposition represent 95% of lawmakers under investigation by the Enforcement Directorate. She accused the government of spreading falsehood over India's growth story under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She said demonetization of high-value currency in 2016 failed to achieve its targets, as cash is still king and phasing out of fake currency remains a distant dream. Jagdambika Pal of the BJP hit out at her for the Pappu remark. Pal defended the government and said that India under Prime Minister Modi is among the top 5 global economies. He said that if at all anyone could control inflation, it's the Narendra Modi government. He said India's exports under the leadership of PM Modi are increasing day by day, and the country is on its way to achieving its target of becoming a 5 trillion economy. The BJP will come to power again in 2024, he added. Supriya Sule of the NCP asked if the government has a roadmap on how to improve the economic condition of the country. She said schemes such as Rashtriya Vayoshri Yojana were not being implemented for lack of funds. She said the government kept on talking about the robust economy at a time when India's industrial growth was stagnating and unemployment was at an all-time high. National Conference member Hasnain Masoodi said the economic condition of farmers was a matter of concern. RSP's N.K. Premachandran said the demand for excess grants to the tune of 10% of the amount of the total budget proposal reflected poor fiscal planning of the government. Premachandran wondered how the government would contain the fiscal deficit at 6.4% of the GDP as announced by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in her budget speech. Mohammad Javed of the Congress said India was importing 90% of fertilizers and there was no move to make the country self-reliant in this sector. He said the fact that the government had to give free food grains to 81 crore people was evidence that the number of poor has increased in the country. Pratap Rao Jadhav of the Eknath Shinde faction of the Shiva Sena lauded the Prime Minister over the building of infrastructure such as roads and highways across the country. BJP member Soumitra Khan credited the Prime Minister and Finance Minister with steering the country at a time when the world economy was facing headwinds. Akali Dal's Harsimrat Kaur Badal slammed the Punjab government for issuing advertisements by spending hundreds of crores of rupees in newspapers in as far as Tamil Nadu seeking suggestions for the state budget. Badal demanded that the government levy GST on government advertisements to increase its revenue. Congress member Thomas Charikadan voiced concerns of the rubber growers. He demanded that the government fix a minimum support price of 250 rupees per kg for rubber. Independent member Navneet Rana demanded that the government allocate funds for the renovation of British-era railway stations in her constituency of Amaravati. Raising the issue of education of minorities, Samajwadi Party member S.T. Hassan said the government should restart the scholarships it has done away with, like the Maulana Azad National Fellowship. All India United Democratic Front Chief Badruddin Ajmal demanded that the issue of flood and irrigation be resolved in Assam. He called for enhancing the budget for minorities to provide education to them. BJD's Bhartrhari Mahtab hailed the government for providing food grains to 80 crore people every month during COVID pandemic and continuing with it. He said the government performed its duty. He said that providing food grains to people became a success because state governments ensured that it reaches the people. And now to news from the Rajya Sabha. A statement made by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on India-China troops clashing in Tawang sector of Arunachal Pradesh was a highlight of the day. Minister Singh said the Indian Army thwarted an attempt by the Chinese PLA to unilaterally change the status quo in the Yangtze area of Arunachal Pradesh's Tawang sector on 9th December. He said there were no fatalities or serious injuries to Indian troops in the scuffle. The minister said Indian troops confronted the Chinese in a firm and resolute manner. The Chinese personnel were forced to go back to their locations because of the timely intervention by the Indian military commanders. Singh's statement came a day after the Indian Army said troops from the two sides clashed along the line of actual control in the Tawang sector, and the face-off led to minor injuries to a few personnel from both sides. On 9th December, the PLA troops tried to transgress the LAC in the Yangtze area of the Tawang sector and unilaterally changed the status quo. The Chinese attempt was contested by Indian troops in a firm and resolute manner. Minister Singh's statement was identical to the one he made in the Lok Sabha. The Tawang incident is the first major clash between the Indian and Chinese armies since 2020 near Ringchen La in eastern Ladakh. Soon after the Defence Minister's statement, Rajya Sabha Deputy Chairperson Harivansh refused permission to opposition MPs to seek clarification on the minister's statement, saying that clarifications are not allowed on sensitive issues. Opposition parties led by the Congress had stalled proceedings in the first hour of the session. Dissatisfied with the chair's response, opposition members from the Congress and other parties such as the Shiva Sena, SP, CPI, CPIM, JMM and RJD staged a walkout in protest. The Congress members said there was no point in sitting in the House if they are not given clarifications. Leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge said the opposition has repeatedly asked for a debate on Chinese transgression, but the government refused to allow it. He said the defense minister left without giving any clarification to the House and that this is not good for the nation. Several Congress members had given adjournment notices to discuss the issue, but they were not taken up. The House saw disruptions during the first hour when agitated opposition members demanded a statement from the Prime Minister in a discussion on the Tawang incident. The Rajya Sabha took up a bill that seeks to include the Gond community in the scheduled tribes category in parts of Uttar Pradesh. Tribal Affairs Minister Arjun Munda introduced the motion for consideration and passage of the bill when the House reassembled at 2 p.m. after the lunch break. The Constitution Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes Orders Second Amendment Bill 2022 was passed by the Lok Sabha in April this year. The bill seeks to amend the Constitution Scheduled Tribes Uttar Pradesh Order 1967 ST Order and the Constitution Scheduled Castes Order 1950 SC Order with respect to its application to Uttar Pradesh. It amends the Scheduled Castes Order to exclude the Gond community as a scheduled caste in 4 districts of Uttar Pradesh: Chandauli, Kushinagar, Sant Kabir Nagar and Sant Ravidas Nagar. It amends the ST order to recognize the Gond community and as a scheduled tribe in these 4 districts. Pramod Tiwari of the Congress supported the bill but wondered why other communities were left out from the scope of the proposed legislation. He alleged that atrocities against scheduled castes and scheduled tribes increased in the country whenever a BJP-led government came to power at the centre. Shantanu Sen of the TMC supported the bill but opposed the tokenism this government does in the name of welfare of SCs and STs. Members cutting across party lines supported the proposed legislation but called for inclusion of more communities in the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes categories. Niranjan Bishi of the BJD, Subhash Chandra Bose Pilli of the YSRCP and V. Shivadasan of the CPIM supported the bill. Ramji of BSP supported the bill but said that atrocities against tribals have risen in the country. He called for stringent action against perpetrators of such incidents. Manoj Kumar Jha of the RJD said the government should go for a caste-based census but in the meanwhile implement 52% reservation for the backward communities. Santosh Kumar P of the CPI said there is a need to take up the welfare of tribals and backward communities seriously. While supporting a caste-based census, he asked the government to look into the welfare of denotified tribes as well. Samir Oraon of the BJP said because to the efforts of the present government, the backward classes were moving ahead. He alleged that the previous governments never cared for them and it is only the BJP government that's working for the welfare of such communities. L. Hanumantayya of the Congress party said he supports the bill. He said the government should look into the status of some more communities with the scheduled castes to lists across the country. He also said that there is a need to provide more protection to the people of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Citing some recent cases of violence against members of scheduled castes in Uttar Pradesh, he said that unless they take some measures, just passing a law will not solve the problem. Hanumantayya demanded a caste-based census in the country. He said the reported crimes against scheduled tribes were 8,272 in 2020, which increased to 8,802 in 2021. He asked the government to look into this matter. Fauzia Khan of the NCP supported the bill. The member demanded that the Dharkad community from Maharashtra be added to the scheduled tribes list. Jayant Chaudhary of the RLD demanded that the coal community from UP be accorded the scheduled caste status. He also supported a caste-based census. G.K. Vasan from TMCM supported the bill. He asked the government to add the Narikuruvar community from Tamil Nadu to the scheduled tribes list. BJP members Jugal Singh Lokhandwala, Ramila Ben Becharbhai Bara, Brijlal, Sakaldeep Rajbar, Vinay Dinu Tendulkar and Biplab Kumar Dev supported the bill as well. The minister would reply to the bill on Wednesday. During question hour, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman told the House that the decision to provide corporate social responsibility funds to various relief funds of the central government was taken by the previous UPA government in 2013. Responding to a supplementary query on why CSR funds cannot be given to Chief Minister's relief funds of state governments, she said the CSR is part of the Companies Act and the then UPA government thought it fit not to spend it in favor of the state Chief Minister's relief fund. Earlier in the day, the Rajya Sabha remembered the valor and bravery of the martyrs of the 2001 Parliament attack while paying rich tributes to them. Members stood in silence as a mark of respect to those who lost their lives in the attack. Soon after the proceedings of the House started, Deputy Chairperson Harivansh said 13 December will always be remembered as the grimmest day in the history of independent India. And with that, it's a wrap on Parliament News. Thanks for watching.